Welcome to Hispanic Biz Success Stories. I'm Homero Galicia. Every business has a story. We interview successful business owners to learn their story and to learn about our community. Today we're very fortunate to have with us Mr. Gilbert Esparza from MRG of Texas. Mr. Esparza, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
Thank you. Let me ask you, Mr. Esparza, MRG of Texas, what is MRG of Texas?
So we've morphed over the years, but initially our emphasis was management, and we were focusing on getting clients and businesses out of PEOs, employee leasing. They were kind of focusing on getting them out of those types of scenarios where we felt they were overpaying, and helping them be their backroom HR. And that's initially why we first started the company, is doing those things.
So you saw that PEO, which is personnel...
professional employment organizations or leasing companies, which they're very common and predominantly in the construction industry. We saw there were very limited options for them, and they were, from our perspective, they were overcharged tremendously. And a lot of these business owners were very unsophisticated business-wise, but extremely talented in what they were doing. Artisan contractors, roofers, painters. We just saw a niche of getting them out and helping them do their business and not having to rely on a PEO, and in turn saving them a lot of money, helping them grow their business. So that's when we initially started.
And so now you've grown. How large are you now?
Well, we've changed over the years. So that was our main focus, and as a part of getting the client out of the PEO, we would place insurance products for them. I wasn't licensed at the time, and I was working with several agents here in El Paso, and we would refer the business out. One day, as our company started growing, I saw an opportunity, and I thought, boy, we're leaving a lot of money on the table here. So why don't we start an insurance agency and bring all that business back in-house? So I got licensed, and now that's a pretty significant part of our portfolio of our business is insurance.
What kinds of insurance?
So mainly a lot of P&C, property and casualty, for commercial. Workers' comp, general liability, inland marine, things that businesses typically have to have. And then as an offshoot of that, we've actually started to doing the payment and performance bonds for them as well.
What does MRG stand for?
Management Resource Group. And the reason we have that name is we like to think of ourselves as a one-stop shop. We don't do everything, but we have a great affiliation with a lot of companies, both here in El Paso and throughout the country, that can offer our businesses and our clients all kinds of services that they're going to need. And coming to our office, we can send them to the right direction when we know that the companies that have the same kind of mindset as far as taking care of the client will help them. And those range from drug testing to financing, factoring, safety, a gamut of services that we don't provide necessarily, but we have great affiliations with these companies.
Great. So let me ask, how big is your company now?
So MRG kind of just took had a little growth spurt of recent. We picked up some government contracting, and we're up to about 15 employees now, and we're kind of spread out. We're licensed in 18 states, and we have clients all over the country now.
Wow, fantastic. Well, before we get into really digging into the business and understanding that, I'd like to ask you about your background. You know, you're an El Paso boy, right?
I am.
And you went to school in El Paso. What schools?
I did. Well, I started out my early educational career at Assumption, and I did that till fourth grade, and then I went to Bassett Elementary, and I ended up graduating from Austin High School.
Ah, fantastic. And then college.
So college, I went off to Texas Tech, and I studied finance and marketing there. And I've even taken during summers and stuff. We would take some classes that UTEP. So my background is in finance and marketing.
Finance, so you know investments.
Well, I'd like to think so. My parents spent a lot of money on my education, so let's say yes.
Well, you come from a background of entrepreneurs, the Esparza name. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
So my grandfather, Beto Sr., was a waiter many years ago, and decided one day that in order for him to advance and help his family, he was going to have to start his own restaurant. So he opened up back in the 30s downtown La Paloma Cafe, and he did that for years, and then opened a northeast location. And my father went to work for him, and I started working for my father. So I grew up in the food service industry for 23, 24 years.
Wow. I used to go to La Paloma on 2nd or 3rd?
Yeah, it was 2nd or 3rd Street, I don't remember, and then it changed to Delta. So,
Delta, that's
yeah.
right. That's
so
right.
it's the building, the original building's on Delta. I think it was 3rd, I believe.
Yeah. And because I guess it was your aunt that used to.
My Aunt Yolanda, my dad's sister, she took it over, and then she ran that for many years until she retired.
Now your grandfather, that whole family, they were born here or did they come here?
Grandfather, they were actually migrants from Mexico, and the Casas Grandes area, and family in Parral, and some of them. And they came here, and then my parents were born here.
And then your grandfather had brothers, or is it
my grandfather had brother. One of his brothers had the White Elephant Bowling Alley. I don't know if you remember that place. Yeah. And so they were all kind of entrepreneurs in their own right.
That was Benny's father.
Benny, my grandfather's brother was Benny Esparza.
Okay, because my father used to go. They had a cafe there at the White Elephant.
Right.
And they had a pool table.
Uh-huh.
And my father, when he retired, would go meet his old friends and
Right.
play pool in the afternoon
Yeah.
at the White Elephant.
I remember that place very well.
And before that, we used to go, and in fact, on Sundays, my father, as we were kids, used to take us to have a Sunday meal there
Right.
at the White Elephant,
Right.
because they had good food. That goes way back.
That's a long time ago.
So your grandfather, your father, and your uncles all were in business?
They were in business. They were out on my father's side, and then on my mother's side, they were more my great uncle Albert Armendariz, who was attorney, and the federal courthouse is named after him. He was appointed by President Reagan to sit on as a federal judge, and so they were not entrepreneurs in business sense, but they were certainly mavericks in the civil side and civil rights, particularly, especially with migrants and the Hispanics.
So your mother was an Armendariz.
My mother is an Armendariz.
So Albert, the attorney, is your cousin.
He's the second, that's her first cousin, so I guess that'd be my second.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's neat. So you have deep roots in El Paso.
I have a lot of deep roots and a lot of mentors and a lot of people that were great examples for myself and my brothers and
Quite
sisters.
a legacy to follow.
Absolutely.
So you finished college, and what career objectives or were in your mind at that time?
Well, I'm the oldest of four, and it was kind of just understood that you were just going to go and help and run the family business. And that's what I did for many years. I did that for about 24, 25 years.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And your other brothers and sisters, what are their names?
So I have a sister, Monica Esparza, who's administrator. She's a nurse, administrator for seniors. And she's awesome, runs just tremendous businesswoman in her own right. Mm-hmm. And a fantastic nurse. And she's done great things there at Fresenius and has all kinds of awards. And I could never even dream to
Wow.
achieve the things that she's done.
Wow.
My brother Jaime Esparza is actually the sergeant for El Paso Police Department. He's in charge of the DUI task force.
Okay.
And his big accolade is he's the only police officer in the history of El Paso that has been awarded the Medal of Honor for an event that he saved a bunch of people out of a burning RV.
Okay. Wow.
And it was funny. He was still in his probationary period, and when that happened. So,
Wow.
but in fact, it's funny because I met a friend the other day who had a police officer friend, and I mentioned my brother, and he goes, "Oh, you mean Hero?" So they call him Hero. So yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah.
So that stayed with him.
Yeah.
And then your other two
So my
sons?
other brother, he's married, and he works at a local car dealership, and he's the one that didn't really go to school or whatever, but he's doing well, and we're proud of him as well.
And then the last,
Well, that's a
three.
four,
So
yeah,
you're
and
the
then
fourth.
myself.
Yeah, and you're the oldest. So you were destined to be president, right? You're the firstborn.
Well, yeah, by default.
And so you worked with your dad's business for 20 years.
Well, yeah, Homero, in family business, I've been working for my father since I was probably 11 years old. Yeah, you're in a family business. You grow up, that's what you do. During college and when I got out, I started working for my mom and dad full time. And I did that for 24, 25 years.
And then what was your next step then?
Well, I actually purchased MRG and was doing the family restaurant thing at the same time. I came to the conclusion one time, things turned for me when I had my first child. Restaurant industry is extremely demanding time-wise. I grew up not seeing my parents, or if I saw them, it was at the restaurant. That just wasn't something I wanted for myself and for my family. Mother's Day, you're at the restaurant. Every holiday, you're there. Valentine's Day, you're there. Missing games. It's a tough life. I just wanted something different. And that was kind of the inspiration for me to start to try to find something else.
Did you play sports?
I did. I played football and tennis in high school. Certainly wasn't a professional, wasn't an option for me, but I did it because my buddies were doing it.
Yeah. No, I can see that. But it would be important that your parents would be able to go to the games. But
Sure, yeah. And they did what they did as much as they could. It was just very different. Compared to my life, I coach my daughter's teams at their school, and I don't think I've ever missed a game.
Wow. Wow.
There's been occasion once or twice maybe where I've been out of town on business, but for the most part, it's my priority.
So how many children do you have?
I have two daughters. I have Lauren, who's 15. She's a sophomore at Loretto. And Julia, who's 8th grader at St. Joseph's.
Okay. And how long have you been married?
I've been married the 17th of this month. In February, I'll be married 20 years.
Fantastic.
20 years.
And your wife, is she from El Paso?
She is. She's an nephrology nurse, and went to Bel Air and graduated from UTEP in the nursing program. She's an RN, and she's about a year ago she started working for the DOD, and so she's running the dialysis unit there at Beaumont. So
Oh, okay. Wow. So you're both working.
we are.
You're both professionals.
She took a long time off. She took a sabbatical while our children were small. Went back to work about a year ago, close to a year ago.
Okay,
Once the kids got older, and she was sitting around the house wondering, where's everybody? She's thought it's time for me to go back,
good.
and she's loving it.
And
so.
her name?
Her name is Elena.
Elena.
Uh-huh.
Fantastic. Well, that's great. So why did you decide to get into this kind of work of working with businesses and employees when you come out of the restaurant business?
Well, it kind of fell in my lap. I had met a couple of gentlemen that had, MRG had an office based out of El Paso. They were headquartered out of Albuquerque. And I met them through a series of networking events, and they actually flew me up and offered me a job, is how it initially started. And I thought about it, and always working for myself or my family, I wasn't sure I was cut out to work for somebody else. Not that I don't mind taking orders, obviously I had to, but I've always been one, if you're going to work hard, you want to be the beneficiary of the fruits of those labors. So I turned them down, and I said, no, I'll stay with what I'm doing. And they called me about a month later, and they wanted to talk to me again, and they flew me up to Albuquerque, and they offered to basically to sell me the company. So and I thought about it, and my wife and my youngest daughter were with us at the time. I only had Lauren at that time. We came back to El Paso, and I thought about it, and we said, okay, well, let's try it. Let's see what happens. This could be what we've been looking for.
So MRG was an existing business, but they had come to a point where...
It was MRG of New Mexico.
Okay.
And they were making an effort to try to have a footprint here, but they weren't here physically. They had a couple of employees, but no management, and things were not going well for them here.
So you bought the Texas. You call it Texas.
Yeah, I bought out. Initially, it was MRG, and it was a limited partnership. They had a percentage ownership in what was then just MRG. After about 2 years, things were going really well. I don't think they expected the company to do as well as it did. So once things got off the ground, and we had some nice clients and things were going well, things kind of started going south with myself and the partners up in New Mexico. So at that point I said, here's the keys. I'm doing my own thing. And I spoke to all my clients who, they're the ones that I was doing business with, so they all came with me, and I started MRG of Texas.
So you were able to break away. Is there still an MRG in New Mexico?
They're there. Last I checked, they were still there in New Mexico.
But so you started this whole branch. Did you know the industry when you got into it?
I really didn't, especially not the insurance side of it, and not the consulting and all the things that we're into now. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be involved in the industry that I'm involved in. However, I had a unique perspective in that I had been part of a small family business forever, and so I understood it from that side, which I think gave me a unique perspective in that a lot of people that maybe go to college, become a CPA or an advisor or something, maybe never really had experience of what it's like to wonder, hey, are we going to make payroll this week, or what's this, or this broke, do we have the money to fix it? I came from that background and saw some of that. So I think when I'm talking and speaking with clients, I have a unique perspective in that I've sat on that side of the table before. And I understand.
So you speak their language.
I do.
But you also seem to understand their issues.
I do. Mero, the family businesses in particular, it's more than a job for those people. It's who you are. And I put myself in that category as well. It's not just something you go at from 9 to 5 and punch out and go home and worry about it the next morning. It's something that you are. It consumes you. It's who you are. You live it day in and day out. And it's very important to understand that when you're dealing with those clients, because that is just who they are. And this town is a perfect example of that. Yeah.
But you were motivated by family to get out of the restaurant business.
I wanted to have a little more of a normal life in the sense of hours. There are times where I kick myself and think, when I'm at the office and it's 9:30, 10 at night, It's like, wait a minute, this isn't working out. But those are rare occasions. It's not my normal life. But I really wanted to have a little more freedom and a little more of a normal schedule so that I could spend time with my family.
So why, you know, you saw a cost being paid that affected you in family business because of the time constraints.
Correct.
And it affected you in a way that you said, I don't want to keep going this way.
Right.
That's a pretty major decision.
It was. My parents were at a point where they were getting older and they were ready to retire. And my sister, like I said, was become a nurse, and she's had her own career going. My brother left the business about 3 years prior from me leaving. And I was basically, it was myself and my mom. My dad had retired already. And I guess I had to make a decision. Is this something I want to buy from them and see what I can do with it from this point forward? Or is it time for me to do something different? And it was a hard decision, and I did both for a long time. I would get up in the morning and I would run to the restaurant and drive to the restaurant and get everything ready, work the noon rush and lunch crowd, run to my office, my MRG office, and back then it was just me, and I'd work there till 4, 5, 5:30. And at that point I knew I needed to get back to the restaurant because the dinner crowd would be coming in. And I did that for several years.
Wow. I got spoiled on La Paloma burritos, big burritos. I used to work on Paisano at a service station, and my lunch was at
Right.
La Paloma every day. I did that. But that's a major decision, and so you get into a business that you knew a little bit about, but something motivated you to go ahead and do that. And so there was something you liked in the business?
I did. I've always loved the decision making and the process of business. I was kind of the go-to person for all our family and friends when they had an issue or a problem to come to for help. So I'd kind of had a niche for it, I think, maybe from way back, even when I was a kid. So it was kind of a natural thing for me when I bought the company. I enjoyed it immensely, and it was a struggle getting it off the ground for sure. But it was something that I knew I could do, and it's something that I enjoy doing.
I want to ask you about that struggle getting it going, but there's something you said that I'd like to ask about, if you could help me understand. The whole idea of, you're talking about your parents in the business, the family business, it's who you are. What do you mean by that?
I'll give a good example. When my parents, they decided to retire, and I obviously had made my decision not to go into the business, they were sitting on this business that had a very well-known name throughout the community. And they made a very wise decision, in my opinion, and it probably cost them some money, but it wasn't about the money. They wanted to say, what do we do? Do we sell it? Or what do we do with this thing? And they came to the conclusion that our family name is so synonymous with La Paloma at that point that if we sold it and something happened, it's always going to come back on the Esparza name. And they made the decision, I think let's just shut it down because it does impact us in the community and who we are. And even though we may not have been involved in the business, if something were to happen, it's always going to come back to reflect on us. So, El Paso's the biggest small town you're ever going to live in. And so I think it was a hard choice, but it was the right one. And so it goes back to what I said earlier. Your business becomes you, and people associate you with your business. And I think here more than anywhere I've ever been.
Yeah. So now with MRG, you know, is this you too? Is this who you are?
It is. It is. We're people look at me and when they meet me, oh, you're the guy from MRG, or you're Gil from. You're not Gil Esparza, the terrible golfer. You're Gil Esparza, you're the MRG guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is, and we always are cognizant of how we treat our clients and the ethics and the things that we do for our clients, because ultimately it's all comes back on your family name, and ultimately your children and your wife.
So as you start your business and you're still doing the restaurant work, how did you find clients?
So it was funny when when I purchased the company, I think they had like 8 clients. Of those 8 clients, things weren't being done the right way. I probably lost 6 of the 8 within the first 4 months.
Wow.
So they were just used to doing things a way that I didn't agree with. So once I cleaned house a little bit, I focused on the couple of clients that I had left and started networking on that. And there was really no secret. It was just hard work, knocking on doors, and then also contacting the people that I already knew in the community, letting them know what I was doing. I'd love an opportunity to speak with them, and we just started. It's like getting a big ball rolling, and picked up a couple of really great clients that are still my clients to this day, who really helped. And once you get a couple of nice, good-sized clients, they really help perpetuate the business from that point.
So what year did you start MRG?
I bought the company initially in 2002. So we've been around for about 14 years now.
Fantastic. Well, interesting to know what somebody does when they grow up in a family business and they understand that entrepreneurial zeal and start their own business. So you see yourself very much as an entrepreneur.
But yeah, I'm sure. I think I'm the if you looked up that word in the dictionary, you'd probably see my picture there for sure.
That's who you are, right?
That's who
You're
I
an
am.
entrepreneur.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. I want to acknowledge that you're the third. Your father was Junior and your grandfather was Gilbert.
I am the third.
You're the third. So you have a big legacy to
Absolutely
attach to your name. What is MRG of Texas?
MRG of Texas is a management company. We range the gamut from payrolls. We have the risk management side now, and then we do contract compliance and capital retention programs, bonding, all kinds of things. And then about 8-10 months ago, we got into the logistical side, and we're actually doing some logistics for the federal government now, which is kind of something completely different than what we initially started out doing.
Logistics, moving freight, or
we move furniture.
Oh, okay.
And we're in charge of about 7 warehouses there on Fort Bliss, and we help kind of make the transition when units come into the barracks. We help them get everything in, make sure the furniture's in place. We inspect it, move it out, move it in, and we're support for basically the units that are coming in and out of Fort Bliss on a daily basis.
So let me ask you, Mr. Esparza, about your client. Who is a typical client, and what do you do for them?
Typical client for us is we consider them small to medium size, and maybe employees under 150. Typically, when a company gets to a certain size, they have a lot of internal HR. But the small to medium size firms may not have the expertise in the HR and the risk management side. They just simply don't have the economic means to hire someone in-house to do that for them full time. So we're a great resource for them to actually have someone on board that they can come to as needed, and somebody that we're consulting continuously when they have issues regarding those fields.
So you're experts in human resources?
So my expertise really is in the risk management side. I'm a construction risk insurance specialist certified, which is CRIS in our industry. So I look at the risk side of things, placing insurances and making sure that we're in compliance with contracts that we have in place or our clients have in place, making sure that everything is
What does that mean, risk?
Risk is just all the things that possibly negatively can happen when you're working, whether it be in an office environment or construction environment. We just had a client just the other day. I'm sure most people saw it on the news. He uprighted a crane working on the Tigua's new entertainment center. So we were there. Greg Oberman and I were there all afternoon, help cleaning up that mess. So things like that, the unforeseen things that can happen that can cause harm both to employees or to third parties or to their customers.
And so what does that mean? You have insurance to protect the losses, or?
Correct. You know, general liability, workers' comp, which protects your employees if you have an employee that gets injured while they're working. You know, we do those administrations. We do all the audits for those products. Commercial auto, inland marine, which protects their assets, their types of equipment that they use. It's a very wide, broad gamut of products.
So you protect your customer from exposure?
Yes, and our customers typically are artisan, what we call artisan contractors. So they actually work for bigger clients. So maybe a guy, maybe a concrete contractor, and so he's working for someone. Part of his contract, our client's contract, is to make sure that he's protecting his customer. And they want to make sure in their contracts certain things have to be met and certain things have to be maintained, and we make sure that those things are done.
So you work with subcontractors?
A lot of our clients are subs. Most of them are subs. I would say in our construction side, I would say probably 80% of our clients are subcontractors, and maybe electricians or HVAC or roofing or things like that.
And so what do you do on the employee side for them?
So we maintain certain benefits for those employees. We offer them all kinds of products that may help them retain that employee. We get involved if there's an HR issue, something that arises for whatever reason. We can come in and actually meet with the client and the employee and kind of try to figure out how to best resolve the issue, things of that nature.
So you protect the employer on the employee side so that they can discipline an employee if they need to, or get rid of an employee if they need to?
To some degree. That's a rare occasion.
Okay.
Most of the time we're really dealing with making sure that our clients are protected correctly and that they have the right products in place. In the event that there was something went wrong, that their business can sustain some type of event that if those coverages weren't in place, could be the end of the company.
So your clients hire their own people?
Yes.
But they come to you for?
All of my clients, a lot of our clients that we pull out of a employee leasing scenario, they have their own staff. I'm not involved in the hiring of their employees. Okay. We run a lot of payrolls out of our office. That's another aspect of what we do. But ultimately, the employee's under their direction and control, and we just kind of facilitate the process.
So if I'm a subcontractor and I really know my field of rock walls, for example, and I have 30 employees, but I don't want anything to do with having to think about how to take care of my employees. I just want to get the contracts and perform the contract.
You're my perfect client.
And so I come to you and I say, help me, I don't know how to do these things.
Right.
And you take over my headache.
We do. And that's our thought on it is, given that scenario you just gave, you're great at making rock walls, but you may not understand how to deal with the IRS, how to deal with the different entities that you're going to have to deal with as a business owner. And it's intimidating at times for a lot of these people. We've seen clients grow from 2-3 employees to 80, and it's the same guy or the same person, and they get a letter from the IRS. They get it flusters them. So we're their back door kind of HR and compliance, and we help make sure that all their payroll taxes are paid properly, that all the reportings are done, the 941s and all of those types of issues, so that they can really focus on what they do best, which is making the rock wall.
So if they get an inspection from INS or immigration, you have made sure that they've got all the proper
all
files.
All the documents are there, that our I-9s are in order and in place, and we'll represent them, and we'll be there during the audit. And we're basically, I always tell my clients that they're my bosses. But when they need me and there's an issue, then we come in and we represent them at the table, and life goes on.
So you've got a staff here in El Paso, and you've also got some branches, right?
We do. We have an office on Surety. We have an office on base here. We have a small presence in Houston, and we're looking at a couple of contracts, one in California and one in South Carolina. So we'll probably have staff there as well here soon.
So you had to have staff to support that client.
Absolutely.
And they're pretty strong clients, I assume.
They are.
So let me ask about the struggles that you faced in growing the business. You come from restaurant business, so
Yes,
getting
sir.
into this is a different kind of
Yes, sir.
animal. What kind of struggles did you find?
Well, I think one of the hardest things, especially when we started the insurance side, was finding markets and companies that would do business with someone that was just starting out. So that was one of our biggest struggles, and one of the companies that we still do a lot of business with was Texas Mutual. They came in and were one of the few people that gave us the time of day, and were instrumental in our growth. And I'm loyal to them as the day is long because of what the courtesy they extended me and the faith that they showed in us. So that was a big struggle. Now that we're larger, companies are coming to us because they want to do business with us, but it wasn't always that way. Then the other thing was, I think, the banking, having a good banking relationship. We dealt initially with banks that were not based in El Paso.
Why is that?
At the time, it was what my parents always did, and figured, I'm just...
They didn't bank with local banks.
No.
Why?
I'm not sure why. It was, I think at that time, especially when they started those businesses back in the day, there weren't probably a lot of local banks to begin with. So I kind of made the mistake of going with a large corporate bank that was based out of New York or wherever. And anytime I needed something or I needed to speak to someone, I had to call a 1-800 number and deal with somebody out of New York, or deal with somebody that just didn't really understand my business, El Paso, or anything about what we did. Mr. Oberman's wife, Terry Oberman, was working at that time. It was Bank of the West, which is now Westar. And I was just pulling my hair out one day, having an issue, and he said, "Let's go talk to Terry and get you into be a customer with the bank, see what they can do for us." And that, for a lot of reasons, was a turning point for us, in that we had access to capital, and we actually had a banker that I could sit down in front of, just like you and I are speaking, and say, "Look, this is what I want to do. I want to buy this equipment, or I want to do this, I want to expand. Can you help me?" And it was always great to be able to have a face-to-face relationship with a financial institution that understood what I did and at least knew my name. So yeah, that's been key.
I want to pursue that a little more, but let me ask you about Mr. Greg Oberman. He's part of your business.
He is. Mr. Oberman retired from the newspaper industry after 28 years. He retired a relatively young guy, and we're about the same age. He retired and decided, well, what am I going to do now? At that time, I had a client that was struggling and really needed some help. So I got Mr. Oberman a job with him. And he went in and cleaned house and took care of business. And we were kind of struggling to finish a project that this client had, and we had written a large bond for this client. And I was concerned. Greg went in and made it happen. We got the job done, the client did, and we got out of it unscathed. And I was so impressed with him that at that point, I'd come on board, we'd love to have you. And we met because our daughters went to school, have known each other since pre-K. So it was a natural thing. So he's been an instrumental part of our business.
Well, he's a key team.
Oh, without question. And he's, I don't look like him. He's not an employee. He's part of the team, and he's part of the ownership. Yeah.
How important is it to build a team in a business?
Well, the team is everything, especially as the business grows. My time is limited. What I can't focus on all the things that I used to. The demands on my time are much greater than they were, and without a good team, it's impossible to grow a business. All of the successes that we've had, and all of them that are coming, are all going to be due to the fact that we have a great team, without question.
Back to the banking relationship. I appreciate you sharing that, the importance of having a good relationship with the bank, because that's part of your team as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Why is it good to have a relationship with the bank? Why do you need a bank?
Well, capital is key to any business. And having a line of credit, or being able to go and pull a loan, or to have someone advise you at times, is key. And just the way my clients rely on me for certain expertise, I rely on them for certain expertise. And it's just having to, I think the turning point for us was, I was having an issue with the bank that I was dealing with at the time, which will remain nameless. But I went in, finally I was having a hard time on the 1-800 number. So I said, well, I'm going to go into one of the branches here in town and get this resolved, because this is just getting out of hand. So I put my name on the list. I sat there for 30 minutes. They called me. I sat in this office, talked. There was someone that I could finally meet. I thought, okay, finally, we're going to resolve this. So I explained my situation. That person picked up the phone and dialed the same number that I had been talking to. And at that point, I realized, okay, this isn't going to work. I need to get out of here. I need to figure out something else out, and that's what we did.
And who else is part of your team, internal, external?
Well, we have my clients, for sure. I really look at them as part of the team, both not only referring business to us, but just helping us on a day-to-day basis. I mean, it's a very dynamic relationship that we have with our clients. I learn a lot from them, as well as them learning from me. And so they're certainly a part of the team, and all of my staff, for sure. And also the local SBA office here in El Paso has been extremely helpful to our team. Mr. Queseda and Ms. Aguirre and Mr. Campos have all been very helpful.
So you applied for 8A? Are you 8A?
We did. We got our 8A approximately about 4 years ago. Okay. Didn't do a lot with it at first. Originally did it, believe it or not. I helped a lot of our clients become 8A. And it's a process, and I thought, I really don't know much about the process. I'm gonna do it just to see what the process is like. And so that's how it came about. And then now we've picked up some 8A work, and we're doing a lot of stuff with it.
8A is the SBA minority a program to encourage and grow minority businesses through government set-aside contracts.
Correct.
And it's a 9-year program.
Correct.
And the idea is that through that you grow to a larger level.
That's the idea.
But it's a government contract now. So you have one set of customers, which are your subcontractor type businesses, but now the government's another. That's a whole different customer.
Right.
How do you handle that under the same business?
Well, it hasn't been easy. It's certainly growing pains. We're very diversified in our in-house clients, as we have not only contractors but attorneys and doctors' offices and all type printing houses and all types of businesses, transportation. But the government side and having a government contract, I had a lot of exposure with it because we help clients with contract compliance already. So we had a lot of exposure to it already. I kind of knew the ins and outs of it to some degree, but there was certainly a learning curve that had to be achieved, and it's tough. But then again, it goes back to having the team, and if everyone does their part, it works, and if it doesn't, then we have a problem.
Well, but that comes to a role that you play in terms of leading your organization. But I want to ask you about, you talk about your customers being part of your team.
Absolutely.
Can you share a little more about that? How do you do that?
Well, our customers, there has to be it has to be a dynamic between your customer and your business. It has to be. We have a saying in our office. There's anytime we hire a new employee, one thing that you're never allowed to say in our office is, oh, he's a small customer, he's one of our small clients, or he's one of my big clients. They're all clients. And the reason being is, for that business owner, whether he's got 2 employees or 200, that's the most important business to him or her, period. And to go in, if I walked into an office and oh, there's Mr. Esparza, there's Gil, he's one of our small clients, I'm turning around and walking out because I don't see myself as a small client. My company is the most important company to me, and so we really stress that. And I have some amazing relationships with some of my business owners, and we're actually now become friends and I'd almost say family. I get invited to the weddings and the funerals and the baptisms, and they're part of my family now, and they're part of the team.
So if you're not doing your work with them, they're going to let you know?
Oh, sure they will. Yeah, yeah. And as in any relationship, we have ups and downs. There's things that happen that maybe they blame us for that maybe weren't our fault. But there's times you tell a client, we need to do this, we need to be careful with that. And like, well, we'll worry about that later. And then when it happens, you never told me. So, so those are normal things, like any relationship. But ultimately, our client base is extremely satisfied. We have a tremendous retention with our clients. That's one thing that we're very proud of. Most of our clients don't come in and jump out and come in and jump out. We've seen, we grow with them. If they're a client that came out of a employee leasing scenario, we freed up capital so they can invest in their company, and we just see them start to grow and grow and grow. And that's one of the most fulfilling parts of our business, is seeing these companies go from struggling to floundering to just thriving, and for a variety of reasons. And that's one of our great joys, that we really love doing what we do.
So I guess maybe I need to ask about the standard practice of some of these businesses using PEOs, which is professional employee organizations. They do the hiring and manage. How does that work?
Well, it's basically a co-employer situation, and so that you don't have to deal with payroll issues and HR issues and things like that. You lease a staff, and there's a cost associated with that based upon what they're doing, et cetera, et cetera. there are companies that certainly benefit from those types of affiliations. Good examples are those that companies that maybe have a large influx of work where they have to hire some temporary people to come in and finish a project and then they let them go. But the majority of our clients are really solid, have a firm base of employees, and don't really benefit, in my opinion, being in those types of relationships. They're expensive. And so once we get them out and we're able to free up some capital, gives them opportunity to do other things with it.
So what do you like most about building your business?
Well, for us, it's exciting. Like touching on what we talked about earlier, your company becomes part of you. So when you pick up a new client or a client calls you and says thank you, it's a great feeling. It really is. It's a great feeling. As our clients grow, we grow. So it's a great relationship that we have. So I'm very excited about what we do. I'm passionate about it, and I never thought that 25 years ago, looking back when I was selling Mexican food, that I would be doing this. So sometimes I look at myself and thinking, how did I end up here? How did all this happen?
Well, it is a long haul from the La Paloma restaurant.
It is, yes.
And you're doing government contracting. That's a whole different animal. How do you like that at Fort Bliss?
It's been great. We picked up a contract that had a lot of issues. We kind of started in a huge hole because of some of the issues that the incumbent company was having. So when we came in, there was a lot of, oh boy, here we go. Here's the next problem. And so we had a big hill to climb. And I think we're really super proud of how we've performed on it. I've gotten nothing but accolades from our COR, contracting officer, representative, and our bosses on base. And they recommended us to other bases for work. So, what better...
So you're not afraid of facing a challenge?
No, there's challenges it's always scary, and if you're not nervous, then something's wrong. But at the same time, you can't shy away and let fear motivate you and deter you from growing. Yeah. There's never a time that we've taken on something that we've never done before that I'm not apprehensive about it. That when I feel nervous, I think we're in the right place, because I thought it.
You're comfortable with
Absolutely,
being nervous.
That's exactly right.
So it's still fun.
Absolutely.
So what is the future of MRG?
Well, we're right now looking at expanding, like I said earlier, to California. We're looking at North Carolina, and we really see a lot of opportunities for us throughout the country. We're doing. We're going to be doing some stuff here with the Apache Nation out of Oregon, and they want us to get involved and help mentor some of those Native American-owned businesses and helping them get prepared and to take on some government contracts as well. So we're excited about that opportunity. We'll be going to Oklahoma and Oregon here.
Apaches in Oregon, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then Oklahoma, and they're based, they have a large organization that is a kind of like a conglomerate of a bunch of the nations, and they're based out of Oregon, and then they have an office out of Oklahoma as well.
So what advice do you have for someone out there in business?
Well, that's tough. I think we help a lot of companies that are startups. I think one of the things that you have to be capitalized properly at the inception. I see a lot. If you think you're going to need 50,000, plan on 3 times that. If you're not capitalized, it's very tough. I think that's the first thing. And then one thing is just you have to be dedicated and understand. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And if you think you're going to be a millionaire in a year, that's just not how it's just not how it works. Go buy a lotto ticket, because it's a long, hard struggle. You have to be dedicated, and there's no shortcut.
Well, and what we've learned from you too is that you balance business and family.
Have to.
And family is very important to you. Mr. Esparza, I really appreciate you sharing your story. Fascinating story. Certainly I've learned more about your business, but about you, because that business reflects you. And I trust that our viewers enjoyed your story, and we thank you for watching. Stay tuned for Hispanic Biz success stories and learn more about the people that make up our community, the heroes in our community. Thank you so much for watching. Good day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.